Sure. Welcome everybody to our Wednesday finance meetings. We're here today to talk about bridges and get our bridges in shape and how to do so expeditiously and in a financially prudent manner. So we've got some stuff on the technical aspects, planning aspects, and then on the financial aspects. So without further ado, I'll turn it over.
Okay, thanks, Larry. Put together just a progress report of our bridges here for the board to look at and kind of show you where we stand and then really look ahead where we're at. So tried to make this graphic interesting, see if we succeeded. Background with 28 bridges, 19 are in the county, 9 are shared with York County. And of those 9, we have the lead responsibility for 4 of those. So those bridges we have to work with York County. We have an agreement in place that any repairs or replacement we have to work with them on. We just completed our 2014 inspections of our bridges, so that's really the 2015 inspections. When we complete our inspections that we have to do every year or every 2 years, depending on the type of bridge, that's when we work with HRG to come back and give us an overview of the status of our bridges, work that needs to be done. That leads then to updates to our capital improvement program. So that's why we're here today, is kind of give you the update of that and then recommend the course of action. So you can see 2015, our program is showing results. So when you look at the average age, you see that's going down. That's by virtue of some replacements we've done. We're eliminating our structurally efficient bridges. And we're also eliminating some of the load coastings that are out there. So we are making progress. We're hopeful we'll make more as we move ahead. Accomplishments, we replaced Enks Mill Road Bridge. So that was done in 2014. Bernheisel Bridge was just opened this year. 2016, so two projects that were done pretty quickly. Both of these were done in about 18 months from the time we decided to replace them to the time they were open. So you can see the time differential there between that and other projects that we worked on. Other accomplishments, Bishop Bridge was repaired, as well as Cumberland Bridge. So Bishop's in Upper Island Township. We had that closed for a while. Weren't quite sure what to do. We came up with a kind of an innovative fix there to some of the members of the bridge. Reopened that. Copel Bridge as well, that's in South Middle Township. Had to do some repairs to that to really keep it open. Copel Bridge is just downstream from Craighead Bridge, which is also in South Middle Township. So with both of them closed, there were some serious mobility impacts we had to address. Make a quick fix in Copel Bridge. Some of the guiding principles of where we're headed with some of these, and these are just some of the things that Brian and I have talked about with finance and with what we believe some of the principles should be. First, I think we're at a turning point for our program of moving from what I'll call a reactive part of the program to more proactive. Our goal is really to address issues now before late postings and closures occur. What we've seen, we've seen that our bridge stock has been out there a while. We really haven't had the funds to proactively address what's going on. I think we're turning the corner on that now. We have a lot of work underway, and with some of the work that's planned, I think we'll continue to move in that direction and be able to address issues before they occur. We're also planning conservatively. So the program that we're putting before you today really includes everything that we're looking at between now and 2026. A lot of that work is in the front end of that between now and 2020. And we're conservative on our planning, we're conservative on our estimates to make sure that we're not trying to manage the program on a shoestring budget of only $1,000 here and there. I mean, we're trying to make sure that we're really planning conservatively. If anything, we take the project out of the program rather than adding stuff that we were aware of. And kind of my philosophy too is do it now and do it right. When you look at some of the projects that we have to think long term on our program. So as we're making repairs to our bridges, let's think long term. Let's do it now, get the project done and do it right so that the infrastructure is in place for well into the future. We look at our components of the next year's couple programs there. We have our active projects that we're currently working on, pipeline projects that we're starting to work on, and then ongoing elements, which are just components. We'll talk a little bit more about those later. The picture here, though, you can see this is
we're not talking about pipes there, right?
That's right.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because there's a lot of talk about pipelines.
We're not talking about natural gas.
Okay, these are projects that are in the pipeline.
That's right.
You're on public.
Thank you.
That's right. Yeah.
Just want to make sure we don't confuse that.
That's right. This picture is just another sample. Some of the pictures we put in here just to give you kind of a frame of reference what Brian and his team see when they go out. This is a Leidig Bridge and the bowels of Leidig Bridge. So if you look under this, you can see the concrete is falling apart. You can see this piece of steel cable hanging down. That's the structure of the bridge. That's really giving it its strength. So when you see this, it's not good. Right?
It's not supposed to look like.
Yeah, it's not. So this is what you see when you get under and inspect some of these bridges, and when you see issues like this occurring, it's really a call to action. A lot of folks will say, well, didn't you see this coming? A lot of these things happen very quickly, especially this type of bridge design can happen very quickly. And from 1 year to 2 years out, deterioration can happen pretty quickly and require attention. So this is one of the reasons we weight posted this bridge last year. Okay? So just frame of reference there. Our active projects, this is a list of everything right now that's going on that we have contracts with PennDOT or the feds or HRG to work on. So you can see there we have 8 projects that we're working on. So, kind of from start to finish there, Leidick Bridge we'll be working on this summer. Hopefully get that one in place. Craighead Bridge has been in the mix since 2009. So again, when you look at how long we've been working on projects, we replaced 2 bridges in 18 months each. Here's one that's taken since 2009. The difference being, one's using federal and state funds, one's using our own funds. When we're using our own funds, we can move much faster. Green Lake Farms, we're going to do a rehab on that. That's linked to the Craighead Bridge. That's a historic bridge that we're going to rehabilitate as part of our historic mitigation for demolishing the Craighead Bridge. Wars Bridge, we're looking at spring 2017. That's a replacement. Aggie Bridge is a rehab. We're looking at doing that one next year as well. That's in behind Boiling Springs Pool in South Middleton. Wolf Bridge is another one that's taken a very long time. We've been on that one since 2011. We're hopeful we can move to construction on that sometime in fall of 2017 or in the summer of 2018. Hurstville Bridge, that one's rehabilitation. That's linked to Wolf Bridge. We're going to make improvements to Hurstville Bridge as part of our required historic mitigation for demolishing Wolf Bridge. We're looking at that rehab project occurring simultaneously there with Wolf Bridge, and some of the funding for the project will come from Wolf Bridge. Then finally, Kunkel Bridge, South Middleton Township. We'll do that around 2018 after the Craighead Bridge project has been done, and we can free up some material for that. Keep in mind, these are the schedules. These are subject to change, will change. With bridge projects, something will happen, and schedules do change. These are our best estimates as they stand now. And these are active projects, ones that we're currently working on. Pipeline projects, and so these are the ones that we're working on. So the first one here is the Slade Hill Road and Sheepford Road Bridge. I'll show you some maps here of where things are at. We're working on York County with these 2 bridges. York County is the lead on these bridges. So we're working on an alternative study to look at the future of both bridges. Do we need them? Do we not need them? If we're going to replace them, how are we going to do that? Really a lot of community involvement there, involving the townships. We've met with Lower Allen and Fairview Township already to discuss the study process. Public meetings will be part of this. So what you see here, this is actually a Slade Hill Road Bridge.
Wait, did you say Fairview?
Fairview Township.
So is this the bridge that all those York County residents come over and go into our libraries and don't pay anything?
Yeah, probably one of them actually.
That's the bridge in Cumberland, I think that this is.
And that one's fully used, this one. So this is Slade Hill Road Bridge, just built in the late 1800s. York County's telling us in their inspections, this bridge has problems, and it's really going to need to address quickly. So map-wise, where we're at, here's the Turnpike. This is Lisburn Road, Slade Hill Road. Here's Lotsmoyne Road. See, Slade Hill Road comes down and crosses the yellow bridges. Bridge 258 right there. So to zoom in on this one, why this one is kind of special, you can see here the turn in the road. Okay, it's pretty tight. When you actually get down to the ground level, we're on the York County side of the bridge. You can see this old mill's right here. Okay, so number 1, it's historic. Number 2, it's real close to the road. All right, so you can see there's hardly any shoulder. So here you're facing the bridge. If you make an immediate turn and look to your left, this is what you see how the approach comes in. So it's real tight over there. There's is it American Water?
Pennsylvania American Water. Water plant that we had in the previous photo.
You see the water.
Their tanks and the processing facility.
So there's just not a lot of opportunity to work here. You know, for the water company, the historic mill. So we need to figure out what's going on with it. But you can see from some of the inspection pictures here, you know, this is the fascia that's along the side of the bridge. It's cracking, water gets in underneath here, freezes, thaws, breaks it up. It's one of the piers, see gaps between the stones, water that's in there, and freeze thaw cycle. So you can see this thing's in bad shape. It's a 3-ton weight limit right now. We can't go any lower. Carries over 2,000 vehicles per day. So we're trying to figure out, again, for the communities, what's the future of this bridge? Should we replace it? It's a historic bridge, so replacing it is going to be difficult. How do we make the alignment fit with all the issues that are going on there? This will be a challenging project. That's why we're doing this study to figure out for municipalities, you know, do they want to see it replaced, or would they be okay to just close it? You know, who's using it? How much? Are there other alternatives? Those are some of the questions we'll be looking at as we move ahead on that. Sheepford Bridge is nearby. as
So
well.
nobody would be landlocked, there would be other ways,
Right.
alternative routes if it were closed.
Correct. Yeah. So, but again, closure is one of many options that's being considered. We're really looking at putting all our options on the table and working with the community to figure out which one would be the best one for us.
And I think to be clear, Commissioner, the study isn't prescribing that you look at that question that you asked, emergency services, volume of traffic, and what is the impact of keeping it closed, keeping it posted, keeping it open, keeping it posted, or closing it completely. There's a method that's actually out of the PennDOT manual to go through that before any decision is made.
I'm not suggesting we'll close it or anything like that. I'm just wondering that, but that is one of the options though, depending on, I guess, how much.
Alternate routes, right.
So this is Sheepford Bridge, location-wise, up here was Slate Hill, so you can see they're in close relation to one another. Sheepford's down here. This is Lisburn Road coming down, so that's the other major thoroughfare right nearby. Liberty Ford Golf Course, pull my radar. This is the bridge here. As soon as you see this, you set off along to a steel truss. So again, you're looking at the historic aspect. We have a lot of these in the county. Again, you can see the condition of these things. Most of our steel trusses are in this type of condition. They're challenged. They have a lot of rust going on, a lot of deterioration, challenges their ability to carry the traffic at a normal level without being weight posted. This one's weight posted to 8 ton. So again, these are York County leads. If there's problems with them, we share ownership with York County, so we need to figure out in the future what we're going to do with them. We're looking at these two in tandem because they are close together. We could make a selection. Well, we're going to improve Slate Hill Road Bridge versus, Sheepford. The two could work as a pair, so that's why we want to look at it at the same time, given that both of them are in a deteriorated state.
And you said York has the lead on this?
That's correct.
These two?
We share 50% of the cost, whatever that may end up being.
So what does that mean? Have they started to look at these themselves then, or?
Yeah, actually, the study process Brian mentioned, we started that last month. We went with Lower Allen, Fairview Township. This is good regionalism. When we sit down with York County and together as planning departments, we figure out the tasks of the study and we share them equally. And they've given us some tasks, they take some tasks, we put a report together. Joint costs us nothing, costs them nothing. We just get it done together. So it's actually a great working relationship with those guys.
Maybe to be clear, especially for Vince, is that two counties have an agreement of these shared bridges, and all of them go across the bridges. Is that whatever costs are expended, the county split them 50-50. But then, is it equal number? The equal number of bridges are assigned to each county to kind of monitor and maintain. That means take the lead. It's their responsibility to manage, to alert the other county if there's issues. And so in this case, these two cases, York County is the lead, so they're initiating the study, but they're involving Cumberland in that study. So it's not being done in a vacuum. But they're the lead, they're driving it, they're planning staff.
You're contracted with both York and Cumberland?
No,
You're
no, they
separate?
have their own engineer.
Okay.
So they use their engineer, and then we pay for 50% of the cost. And then when we're using HRG over here, then they reimburse us.
So in other words, if it's a Cumberland lead project,
Yeah.
we do the engineering work? Okay.
Then they pay 50%.
Okay.
So again, you look at Sheepford, this bridge, steel truss, historic. You look at Slate Hill Road, Stone Arch, historic. Both of them are historic, both of them have problems. We need to figure out what do we do with one or both of them ahead of the future. Other pipeline projects, Sample Bridge, Silver Spring Township, so this is totally ours. We're seeing continued deterioration in this bridge. The design has been proven to be unreliable. It's the same design as Wars Bridge, Bernheiser Bridge, and Leidig Bridge. So we know that this type of design shows deterioration, can show it quickly, resulting in weight postings. Also, in this location, it's a high traffic location, over 2,000 vehicles per day, and there's some unsafe approach geometry I'll show you in a second. This project, any project you get that's going to go over the common one, typically is going to carry larger costs, simply because it's a larger expanse that it has to cross. So you see here, we're estimating a $7 million cost on that. That's through the multimodal fund. So we submitted for that funding, $3 million through the multimodal fund, total of $7 million. So at the end of the day, $4 to $5 million is likely to be our cost if we move forward with this project.
Kirk, so when we talk about these bridges, we had two now, this is the second one, where you clearly have issues about safety, even if the bridge is pristine based on what you call the approach geometry or the departure geometry. Do we ever look at changing that geometry as part of the project?
Yeah, you'll see here in a second, yes.
I told Larry to ask that question, so it's segued nicely. So here's, I think we're all familiar with Sample Bridge, Silver Spring Township. Bridge is here, US 11. Again, Sample Bridge Road provides north-south access in Cumberland County. If you look at the county, a lot of our access is east-west. So when you see north-south access, it's something that really is kind of rare and something that needs to be preserved. So you can see here, maybe these little houses shown on here. A lot of housing developments going in this area. Silver Spring's the fastest growing municipality in the county, one of the fastest in the state. New school back here from CD School District. So a lot of pressure will be put on this corridor in the future. And when you look at what's going on with the bridge, you can see here this crack in the deck. So if you were out there, and go out there and look, you can actually see through the bridge and see down in the water. Okay? So when you have that hole in the deck, where's the water going? Well, it's going down on the cement beam. Some of it's going straight through. A lot of it's getting into the beams, getting into the cracks in the concrete, the spaces between there. You can see through the staining on this beam, the water's there. And we can only see the results of it from the outside, and we can't dig into it. These beams have the steel cable that I showed you earlier stretched and under tension there to hold the bridge up. We can see the cracking though in this bottom left picture here. Whenever that starts to occur, that's when we know we have problems.
See, that crack means that cable is rusting and expanding. Remember the photo from Leidig where the cable? So what's happened to Leidig is starting to happen here. It's the same type of design. PennDOT doesn't, this is from the 70s, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
A lot of things seem like a good
Yeah,
idea.
so that's not that anymore.
So in short, when you look at the bridge, it has a lot of pressure on it, more pressure coming in the future. We're seeing issues with it. We know the design's bad. This is a definite pipeline project we need to pay a lot of attention to very quickly. Approach geometry here, you can see at this, the top left picture there, it's taking a look at south down towards US 11. And then the bottom right is just simply turn around and looking to see across the bridge. So you can see there is a sharp turn there. That sharp turn does result in some accidents. So this is actually from the day after Christmas this year. I got a call home from UGI. And when I get those calls, it makes me nervous. So you can see here how the guardrail's cracked, that someone hit it. Down here's a little closer, guardrail's hit. This is a UGI pipeline, gas pipeline that's on a bridge. So you can see that the guardrail was hit and smashed back into the UGI gas line. So needless to say, UGI, when they called me on the day after Christmas, early in the morning, they were concerned and wanted this fixed as soon as possible. They did fix this. We sent Brian and his team were great. We gave them a call. They were out to monitor the process to make sure it was done correctly. But these issues happen all the time. So you combine that with the structural issues of the bridge, it's a problem we need to fix. And here's the fix. So Larry, you're talking about, can we fix it? Yes. So you look at the old bridge is here. The new bridge would come on a slight arc here and remove some of that approach geometry. And this picture, we use this for a multimodal fund application, really gives you an idea of what all is going on in the corridor with all the residential developments you can see. We have the nature preserve over here. We have a park over here with a lot of trails. Our intent here is to make sure that the new bridge is contact sensitive, so that it has sidewalks on it, we can connect into the nature preserve, we can connect into the other parks that are there, and the residents that are living along here can cross the bridge safely in the future. We also have water trail access over here. That's one of our projects we worked on with the Fish and Boat Commission, the creek access hopefully over here to nature preserve. So a lot going on in this corridor that we need to be aware
Who
of.
owns Central Bridge Road?
That's a township.
Silver Spring Township.
It's a township road?
Yeah, so we're fixing a lot with this, Larry. We're taking care of the approach problem. We're creating really slick connectivity between the two recreation areas. And you can actually put in a kayak over at the preserve, kayak around and simply walk back over and get your car. I mean, it's really very popular, but you want to have a safe sidewalk there to do that. So this will be a wonderful improvement. Plus you get rid of the bridges fall apart.
So that's Sample Bridge. Again, that's one we really need to take a hard look at here moving ahead.
And is the township responsible for the roadway here?
Yes.
I mean, as part of this project?
The roadway, the approaches we would take care of as part of the project that we're making the improvements on. Long-term maintenance, that's the township takes care of.
Yeah.
So as part of the bridge project, we're responsible for the roadway too?
Typically on a bridge replacement project, it's a good question because the county owns the bridge and the townships own the road. The county doesn't own any road.
Right.
And you always have to make some sort of road improvement when you do a bridge. For example, when we did Burnhouse Bridge, it was only 25 foot long because we didn't move the bridge. We had to tear up some portion of the road. And historically, the county has always paid for the reconstruction of the road to adjust to a new bridge. Now, if there were a major relocation, if the county wanted to, if the township wanted to run back the road and make more improvements beyond what was necessary for the bridge, that would be on the township. And I've had projects where that's been happening, and there's like been a joint agreement to make. In this case, I think it's pretty clear that we want to move that bridge over.
So they're the pipeline projects that we're actively working on. There's some others that we're looking a little further at. So one of those is Bishop Bridge. It's in Upper Island Township. Jim, this gets back to what we talked about 2 years ago. We had some folks that, by virtue of that bridge being closed, they have a long detour. There's some issues with flooding on that detour where some folks could be landlocked. We made a rehab or a repair to that bridge back in 2014 that should last us, about 10 years. But other things happen, as you see with this. So we need to think about that bridge and figure out what we want to do. Again, we have to work in coordination with York County, but it's something we need to keep on our long-term look of what may occur in the future. The two other bridges there, Roush Bridge, that's in Dickinson Township, up the Pine Road here. Very low ADT. There's two new bridges that are being built within 3 miles of us. So it's one we want to monitor, maybe do one of those feasibility studies with that to figure out we really need to put a new bridge in here where there's other access that's close by. Low populated area. Same way with McCormick Bridge. And it's another one that's shared with York County, but low ADT on the bridge. There's other opportunities close by. So I think those two bridges, they're doing fine now, but as we move ahead, we'll probably do some feasibility studies on those, similar to what we're doing on Slate Hill to figure out, do we really need these? And if so, if we do need them, what's a really cost-efficient solution here that doesn't break the bank to build a new bridge for a low ADT? Some ongoing CIP elements that we have to do our bridge inspections. We do those every other year for some bridges, every year with bridges. And program administration, so that's working with the HRG to do the inspections, to help us out on the issues that come up. Maintenance, you can't forget about maintenance. A lot of the projects that we've talked about are replacements. We have to maintain other bridges that are out there. And then emergency repairs, so they're out there. So a couple pictures here, just to, a lot of the things that we talk about the bridge program, you see the replacements. You may not see some of the other in the trenches type work that happens on a day-to-day basis. So the picture here on the right, a resident sent this in to me about 2 weeks ago, and I thank all of our residents that help us out with our program. He sent me a picture and said, hey, I saw this truck cross Hurstville Bridge. It's weight posted 8 tons. I don't believe that truck's 8 tons. he had contact information for the truck. So I researched it and found out that the truck was indeed overweight. So this happens every day. Some other things that happen, on the top left there, you can see our guide rail approach, it gets hit. This is Eggy Bridge, top right there is Eggy Bridge in South Middleton Township. You can see those capstones aren't normally popped up like that. You can see where it got hit by a drunk driver. And then the huge debris, that's McCormick Bridge down the bottom left. This stuff happens on a regular basis. It always costs us time, it costs us money. A lot of times we can run down the insurance provider to get us money for the accidents, but like the debris removal, that's just stuff that we have to do. And it happens on a regular basis. So again, we want to plan conservatively, make sure that we have money in the bank to cover things like this that can and will occur. Now, that's kind of the background on the technical side of the plan. The financial side of the plan, this is everything. This is everything on the table here, what we do over the next, through 2026. You see about $44 million worth of work. County cost of that's about $24 million. But still, when you look at everything that's in, total cost, we're estimating around $44 million. That includes the repair, replacements, maintenance, emergency, the inspections, the program administration.
We incurred together 20.5 million comes from.
Federal and state sources, or York County reimbursement. When you look at next we know the revenues, what we're anticipating to get in revenues over that same time period is about $48 million. So when you look at it, you can see our different revenue sources, our regular liquid fuels, some of the Act 89 funds, reimbursements from federal and state projects in York County. Our registration fee has been healthy, it exceeded our expectations last year. And then our capital bridge fund includes our Marcellus Shale money, and then there was a contribution that the board did, I forget which year it was $500,000. The only general fund dollars that have been put into our program.
What was that for?
I think that was 2010. 2010.
Before I came on board.
It was.
Before I came on.
Right.
Before Vince came on.
Because we're new here.
Gary's not here.
So you look at it, it looks like, oh, we're good to go. We have $44 million in costs. We have $48 million of revenues. We're fine. We're not. There's some concerns that we have. Right now, we have a cash flow gap of about $500,000 to $3 million. That would occur in 2017 and 2019 of the program. Again, keep in mind, our projects are out there. They ebb and flow based upon, approvals from PennDOT, approvals from the locals, how fast the studies progress. So that 2017 to 2019 timeframe is estimated where these cash flow gaps should occur. The problem is that while we have money over that long term, we don't have the money up front to complete our major projects that are likely to occur in 2017 to 2019. Okay, so that's one of the things we want to keep an eye on. One of the other concerns, and I messed this up, this is lower Act 13 funding. That's another bullet. The Act 13 money from our Marcellus Shale allocation, that's going to go down. I mean, when you look at all the signs statewide, there's not as many wells being drilled. They're not as the market rate for natural gas is low. We know that's going to go down. So that's going to compress our revenues a little bit. In Act 89, there's an option for a 2-year registration fee. And it's silent whether or not if you register your car for 2 years, if you pay $5 or $10 for the registration fee. CCAP's working on this, but there could be an impact. Next year is when it takes effect. So we're watching that one as well to see if that gets fixed or that could come back to be a problem.
And that's an option, right?
That's correct.
For the motors, if they want to do 2 years at a time.
Correct. I've seen studies where in other states where they've had the option, a very low percentage of people actually take advantage of it.
That's 1%.
Right.
Reason is there's no discount for 2 years, and people aren't sure if they're going to sell their car. So it's really just a matter of convenience that you don't have to go through it every year. So it's not as popular as you might think it would be.
Does PennDOT have an idea as to what the intent was, or does anybody have? Nobody's asked those questions.
Well, the intent, being with the $5?
Yeah, it should be $5 a
The
year.
intent, the legislator intended it to be $5 per year.
Yeah.
But the actual language, when it came out of the bill, was not specific enough. It said $5 per registration. So if they elect a 2-year registration, the interpretation is it's $5 for the 2 years.
How many counties, I know we were one of the first, but how many other counties have adopted the $5?
Oh, it's,
Anybody know?
Yeah.
yeah, it's up to 16 now, 16 to 20, and it's,
It's growing.
yeah, Dauphin just did it, I understand Bucks is on the verge, York County,
They're considering, I'm not sure.
oh, I think I heard it's, yeah, they're going through this period of wait. It's moving quick.
So that, when you see that impact, that 2-year registration fee, again, we're budgeting conservatively to keep an eye on that. Then the final piece is unknown, so some of those other slides you show there, all the stuff that happens, that will happen. Some of it can be small, some of it can be major. Well, the concerns we have, again, is this gap in cash flow between 2017 and 19, so we have to address that somehow. So what we need is really that additional gap funding to support those near-term projects to get them done. The gaps could widen if unforeseen problems occur. So 2 recent examples are Lydic and Bernheim. You go back to 2013, we first started floating the idea of our bridge capital improvement program. These 2 bridges were kind of in the out years. But as we did inspections, we saw that the deterioration was happening rapidly. Lydic Bridge has serious impacts. They got a ton of calls on that, but then we had to do something quickly. So those 2 bridges popped into the program when really kind of unexpectedly. Couple that with emergency repairs, that gap could widen if more needs are found here within the next 2017 to 2019 timeframe. And the last piece is, with the federal and state funds, so it's always good to get the federal and state funds, you pay a 5% cost share. The issue with that right now is that we're locked in. And Jim, you noticed that the HATS table, right now we have just approved our 2017 TIF that takes us through 2019. Our next chance to get new projects on there will be 2019. When we do that, that will be just getting one for engineering phases. So we get one for engineering phases, then with federal and state regs, we have 3 years of engineering time. So we're really looking at about 2022 before we see serious construction on any project we put on the next TIF.
But Orr's Bridge is on.
That's correct. Yeah.
Or the bridge taken care of.
Okay, and that's, out of all these projects, that's the most expensive, probably one of the most
Yeah.
important.
Yep.
It carries the most, of all the county bridges, it's the most heavily traveled
Yeah,
bridge.
I think it's like 10,000 vehicles.
6,000 to 7,000 vehicles.
Oh, okay. I thought it was closer to 10, but.
I think you're right. I think the last number I saw was 9,400.
Right, okay.
And Raleigh,
And that bridge is also weight restricted, right?
Yes.
It's the same type of construction we showed on Sample Bridge,
Yeah.
and the same things are happening beneath that.
Kirk, can you check as far as gap funding for these near-term projects? I know for Sample Bridge, the township has funds, developer funds set aside. Are there same situations in other townships?
No, it's Silver Spring had set aside $260,000 of fees they collected from developers to help fund Sample Bridge. So we've included that in our.
It's included,
plan.
okay.
Yeah. So that's there, but
Did that take like a special act by the town board? Or was it more of an agreement that was?
It was an agreement.
With 2 or 3 developers, I think there's 2 or 3. It's actually very practical, very unique, and very well.
so you look at, we have a need out there. We need to try and address it. So our solution to what we're putting forward really is to try and leverage the $5 registration. So we look at that fee. What we've been doing is, kind of a pay-as-you-go model, where we use the registration fee, we take our proceeds with that and the other funding sources, we pay for what we can in each given year. What we're proposing is that we try and leverage that $5 fee to look at some other financing options. So we've been working with the finance office. They've done some research. We have the Pennsylvania Infrastructure Bank loan as an option. It's a low interest loan through PennDOT. There's other bond issues that may be an opportunity to put some of our bridge projects into. There's some other options through the municipal authority that have lease rental debt. what we're really doing is still researching these different opportunities and trying to match them up to the needs that we may have at any one time. But we believe that if we leverage the fee now, that we can show results, that we get projects done. We're not waiting to 2023 to get things done. Ultimately, it's going to be cheaper because we get things done now versus waiting the increase of cost of materials. We can avoid a lot of the inconvenience and delays in bureaucracy right now that I think is plaguing our program, because we're trying to work on a lot of stuff, a lot of federal and state funds in it. I haven't met residents yet that are happy when we close bridges or waive restrictive or the detours in place. So we're trying to be proactive. And also the flexibility. If we leverage the fund, that $5 fee, it gives us flexibility then to do a lot of other things. If and when they come up, emergencies are there, if there's a need that pops up, we have a little more flexibility.
So how much it has been, when we got that $5, $5 registration fee, that was sort of like the answer to our prayers, but the price you have to pay, given that it's a cash flow issue, just like the tax revenue, it comes in at a specific point in the year, yet you're incurring expenses on it all. Our sort of mantra was, we got the money, we just have to be patient, because we have to wait for the cash flow. The change in perspective, is that just based on our experiences? Is it mostly based on dissatisfaction or issues created? I mean, what has caused the change of heart or change in philosophy?
I think it's just progress in the program. We front-ended a lot of projects that had federal and state funds. We're completing them now, so now we need to look to the next generation of the program. There's some expensive projects out there, and we know the issues that come along with being patient. Say, hey, we're waiting, we're working on these. And we see some of the needs that are out there now. We need to respond to them quickly. And we believe that if we respond to them quickly, we're going to meet our residents' needs, avoid the inconvenience, do them cheaper over the long term. So that's why I think it's a change in focus of the program.
A specific change, though, Kurt mentioned it earlier, was lighting and burnising.
Yeah.
Both of those in the original plan were not programmed to happen, I think, 10 to 15 years from now. So we weren't expecting those costs to be incurred until we got these other ones done. Well, they have to be done now, so they got fast forwarded 10 to 15 years, so that cost totally disrupted the cash flow that was built into the plan.
Well, based on all these pictures that we see, and I know it's a biased sample, but expecting the unexpected has to be built into the model.
And that's exactly what Kirk is. The sample bridge is a perfect example, and it carries 2,000 vehicles a day. And we don't want to get to the point where our next inspection discovers the cable's popped out and blown out, and I got to make a phone call. We have to close the bridge. Particularly with the school being built and all the other ongoing development. Kirk is suggesting that we don't wait for that to happen.
And so that's not somebody standing out there saying, there's a 1 in a million chance this is happening. It's, we then have to act on it based on a 1 in a million chance. It's in fact a very real and predictable, almost predictable occurrence given the age and the condition of the bridges.
Yes.
If we leverage the fee to the last point there, we can do it with no impact to the general fund. I mean, it's a matter of making sure that we use that fee for all that it's worth. So we look at it, we have the opportunity to get things done now or later. At the end of the day, there's no impact to the general fund. It's just, it'll take a little longer to pay it off, but we'll have the results up front to show the value for it. So, kind of what we wanted to do today is start a discussion, really talk about finance. We want to try and get the board to authorize or at least show your interest in securing some sort of financing for these projects and filling that cash flow gap in the future. We can move ahead with the pay-as-you-go model. We're seeing, canceling projects, delaying the projects as we move forward. And right now, it's kind of critical because we're writing contracts, we're getting HRG under contract to move ahead with a lot of work. So to make the program work, we kind of need to have the security from the board that when we hit these cash flow issues that, we have your blessing to go ahead and work with finance to come up with some of these financing tools to close that gap with whatever tool may work the best, given the project and given the timing. If we're able to do that, and the board gives us that authority, I think the plan will work nicely. If we don't have that, then it's really going to make managing this plan over the next several years very difficult. And I would project that the projects are going to move around, cancel, stop a lot. And I don't think we want to do that, especially if we're not going to have impacts to the general fund. We have a reliable revenue source in place now. So I think the plan would be, to get feedback from the board, if the board concurs that, leveraging $5 fee for some sort of financing tool is good. As we move ahead, we'll work with finance to figure out what that tool is and for what projects. And then when we figure that out, we hit those cash flow gaps, then we can bring back a package to the board and kind of lay it out for your approval.
Yeah, the leverage idea, I think, is great. I can make an analogy with Silver Spring Township Land Preservation Fund. Same thing happened. They leveraged almost $1 million off of the small taxes collected. And Brian, I know, you know that I know, that bridge replacement is just an incredible cost. It's never going to go down. Looking at bridges that are average age of 75 years, yeah, if not now, when? I think we're in the financial position to do something like this. So, certainly, from what you're telling me today, that's my support.
I'll just say one of the things that, people ask me, and of course, I've been commissioner now, 4 or 5 years, not quite 5 years. But they didn't understand why did we get into a situation where so many of our county bridges are structurally deficient. Okay. And I'm not going to speak for prior boards into why we ended up where we are, but we know that the cost of these bridges is, I haven't seen it come down. It's only going to go up. Now, we want to be prudent because I think it's important that we instituted this $5 vehicle registration fee. We also want to make sure that we get every penny that's owed us from the state and federal governments with respect to our fair share of support for these projects. Having said all that, I was thinking all along when we enacted the $5 fee, could we, knowing that, the cost of these projects is just going to continue to skyrocket, why can't we even move even more aggressively, to make these repairs? And, certainly with the funding mechanism in place, we have the ability essentially through borrowing, to perhaps do some of these projects a little sooner with a revenue source available to actually retire that debt. So if you look at it, again, want to do that. When we approved that, we said we're going to save the county general fund property taxpayers money to do this. The General Assembly gave us that option. We moved forward with it. But I don't think any of us are interested in dipping into the pockets of our property taxpayers for more. I don't think there's any reason to do that. So, this would seem to make sense. Again, I think we want to move forward with making those. Let me just say that one caution I have is we don't need to build superstructure replacements for little winding roads, okay? And I think we have to be cautious about that. We have to, again, I'll go back, we need to be prudent with this, but we also want to be, I think as you said, Kirk, proactive. And let's get these projects, our deficient bridges, our fractured critical bridges, let's get them fixed, okay? They need to be fixed. Whether that's replacement or repair, I don't know, but I think it's important, and for the safety of our traveling public too. So I don't think we should delay. I think we have the funding mechanism in place. It's not going to cost our taxpayers anymore. And leveraging it, that seems to make sense. Again, though, I don't want to see us lose federal or state funding for these projects just because we enacted this $5 vehicle registration fee.
We would lose federal funding.
We would have projects, Sample Bridge is a perfect example. If we move forward with that, we're going to have it done before we have the opportunity to put it on the tip.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in that case, if we would lose federal and state funds, assuming we can get the project on the tip. I know with the new FAST Act, right, there's issues with our local bridges even eligible for federal and state funds, federal funds anymore. I talked to Hags about it, I talked to Elijah. His recommendation was if you do this on your own, you're probably best served by doing that.
Well, we can't afford to get tangled up in all of the bureaucracy that spreads us out for another 50 years either. You know, we have, you know, needs that need to be met. I understand that.
I would agree that honestly, I think we should just approach this in a completely unbiased manner to set up what the cost benefit is. And I fully agree that there's big benefit and big savings from not going through the feds. I just think that we should be really nakedly honest about what it would cost us in terms of foregone stuff. I think in the end, the cost benefit model would show that it's worth it. But I just think we need to lay all that stuff out clearly, so that everybody's, talking the same language. I also think, I think 60%, 70% of what we do in this county from a financial standpoint is all about cash flow management. We just went through the whole thing with the state budget impasse. There were good ways to manage that impasse and that cash flow issue. The library every year has a cash flow issue. The county, the reason we have reserves is because we get our money all comes in April and in June for the most part. So I don't know if you were planning on doing this, but you put up a couple of options, and I know you guys discussed them. I know there are better ways to sort of leverage either in this case, our $5 registration fee. I mean, that whole line of credit thing that we talked about, as compared to like taking out a whole bond issue or whatever, is that an option here? Are there better ways to leverage the $5, depending on which vehicle or instrument, no pun intended, instrument that we chose or strategy we chose to do?
It's going to depend on the project timeline, which is why we kind of want to wait and see what's happening. Because if the cash flow issue is going to spread over a longer period of time, a revolving loan may work, because you pay a higher interest rate, but you don't draw the funds down as fast. However, we get very good rates on bonds. One thing that we probably will also look into is the municipal authority debt. And when I say that, it would actually be the general fund loaning the money to the $5 registration fee, and then the general fund would earn the interest rate. There's lots of different, and I don't know that we can do that for the $5 fee. That requires quite a bit of more research. So there's lots of potential options.
Can the financial part of it be done as an aggregate for all of these projects, or does it have to be done on a project-by-project basis?
It could be done in the aggregate.
Okay, the one thing, sort of having...
There's one small issue. Funding source matters.
Yes.
Liquid fuels has different rules than the $5 registration.
I understand. The one thing that concerns me, having absorbed all of the history and folklore here in Cumberland County, is that sometimes the one thing that would scare me is if we just, put out a bond, got a whole lot of money, and just let it sit there, and then parsed it out. I think at A plus one, and then it's a big temptation for people to think, oh, we're not going to use it. Let's use it for this. Whereas the CAT B line of credit thing, pay if and as you need to the extent that it's possible, seems like a lot better way.
I think under the law that was passed, we can't use this for anything other than bridge work or road improvements. So we don't own any roads,
The
so
$5 fee, yes, but if you were using that as collateral, that's not quite the same thing.
Commissioner's right. If you are going to be paying debt service on any type of with $5 registration fee, it can own that, whatever you want to borrow on, it can only be used for what's allowable with that fee.
That's like our land preservation.
Right.
It's the same. Dana, do you have something you want to present to us?
No, I was just basically going to say, when you take a bond issue out, you have to specifically state what you're going to use that money for. And you actually have to go through quite a bit of paperwork to change those uses. Now, I usually put a little caveat in other projects for that little $100,000, $200,000 that could be hanging on the side, but not major.
Part of the glorious history of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is, let's say in other counties, is that money that's specifically in a very rigorous and disciplined manner is earmarked for certain things and somehow finds its way into other stuff. So it's not to say this isn't a good idea, it is a good idea, but that line of credit thing just seems to make so much more sense if it's an option.
Well,
Yeah, I think, I mean, I would say, whatever, we don't want to, I don't think we necessarily, want to get into a situation where we're incurring long-term debt. In other words, if we have the cash flow issue, what are our projections with respect to that? And then, what instrument do we use that makes the most sense to do that?
and when we get there, we need to analyze it then to determine whether the revolving loan, because you're gonna pay a higher interest rate and fees on the revolving loan versus a bond issue that has a very low interest rate. But you still have to spend down the bond issues in 2 to 4 years. You can't have the bond issue outstanding for
It's
that.
sitting out there forever. But I mean, I'm going the other direction. I'm saying, let's not incur, long-term debt if we don't need to either.
Correct.
Because, I mean, once we hopefully get all of our bridges up to par and we have, an idea on where we are with respect to, maintenance, then we may have other options, that we may want to pursue with respect to this. Or eliminate the fee, or perhaps, work something with our local municipalities to help maintain our local highway and road infrastructure.
I just know from our live in Shippensburg and then the little library, and I know that they've had major issues about money that they've taken out, they've either borrowed or had bonds for, and not been able to spend as fast as they're required to spend, which is why the whole notion of spending, drawing down as you need is just a philosophically, I think it's much better. Because these things, like, you never know. There's always surprise jack-in-the-box things that happen that you're not planning for. And God knows how many other mussels, specific species of mussels we may find under some of these bridges.
Kirk and Brian, assuming funding was not an issue, how long would it take for these 28 bridges to be either replaced or repaired?
Maybe you can jump to your next slide. Can we do that? Okay. That's part of the answer, Commissioner, is that within the next 2 years, with the projects that are in some stage of design or on the verge of being built, I think we're going to have 4 or 5 bridges delivered within the next 2 years. Craighead, Wars Bridge, Leidig, Wolf. And frankly, if we move ahead, we could almost even get samples done that amount of time too, if it's not obtained by federal funds. A lot of, some of these bridges we are never going to replace.
Yeah, let me rephrase. I know we have,
The story ones
I
are-
thought 28 bridges needed replaced.
That's correct.
Of the ones that need replaced or repaired, when do you see a time frame? If funding was not an object or an obstacle, how long would it take for those, however many bridges there were?
For the ones that we own, or
Yeah.
we have lead with York County, we would have everything done in, we'd have everything done except 2, McCormick Bridge and Rouse Bridge. We'd have everything else that needs replaced by
4 or 5 years.
okay.
Say 5 years?
Yeah. There's still some with York County, we'd have to coordinate on. They have 98 bridges over there, so their funding situation's a lot more dire than ours.
And their priorities wind up being different than ours because.
So this, to me, 5 years is not long term. A line of credit, there's usually limits on those, but that certainly sounds like, if you can do it. But I'm sure there's a solution to this. I have no doubt about that.
Kirk asked me to mention one thing that was brought up earlier. The dollars that you've seen presented in this are in 2015 dollars. And you gentlemen mentioned something more expensive. Just a brief commentary on that is that with the good news, Act 89 gets the $5 registration fee. The bad news is PennDOT is building a lot of bridges too, so there is a lot of demand for materials, labor, and so forth, so the cost is going to go up on bridges. To what extent, we don't know until we actually start seeing the trends. But I'm reinforcing that comment that it's going to, without doubt, get more expensive.
And it already costs too much.
One of the things that probably won't escalate too much over the 3 to 5 years is the cost of borrowing. I mean, Fed projections are that, it's at historic lows now, and yes, it's going to go up, but they keep postponing raising the rates, et cetera, et cetera. So at least within the first 3 years, the cost of borrowing is probably going to stay more or less within a quarter of a point where it is. So even though materials may in fact cost more than cost of borrowing other rates, go up that much in the short term.
And one last comment to clarify, the ability to get federal funds down the road, Commissioner. We've enjoyed a pretty good track record. I mean, under Kirk's tenure, we've done really well at getting that.
No, and once I see a lot of, Cumberland County projects on the plate, so it's good to see that. It's just that, all I'm saying is, to the extent that we want to, we should be able to try to do what we can to draw down our fair share of those dollars. But understanding that, there's a balance there in terms of, how many hoops do you want to jump through and can we wait? I mean, it's just, that's the crazy thing. I mean, Brickhead Bridge, well, we've been talking about that now since I got here, okay? And have we sold the bridge yet, or is it, anybody buy it yet, or the historic Brickhead Bridge?
The staff is going to chip in and apply for you for Christmas last year.
That's true.
How are you going to get that money?
That's your problem. Can't give it back, it's a gift.
It's a one-shot bridge.
The reauthorization, the federal reauthorization that we get those federal monies from, I want to emphasize the point, has de-emphasized the use of federal money on bridges like this. So that success that we've endured, whether it be Cumberland, Perry, Dauphin, York, are not going to be able to tap into that source like they have before.
Okay.
That's what I was saying. So even though we may make runs at it, it is earmarked. Earmarks the bad word. It is a bad word. But it's for highways of national significance. Samples Bridge Road is pretty significant to the county, but it's not of national significance.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate that. That's good to know. So in other words, whatever funding we used to get may not be as available in the future. Of course, then Congress would pass a real transportation funding bill, maybe, we could have some improvements in the coordination.
Hopefully in Pennsylvania, we actually have one.
I'm glad to. I think that's everybody.
Anybody got anything else? I want to thank you guys and finance for a good presentation. I think we're going to have this is one of the big dollar items looming on the horizon. We have others as well, but
So you'll come back to us with some options then?
As we get to that point, yeah. I mean, there's still, we gotta work out some things with York County, where we're headed, and we see it, we'll work with finance to get some options to bring back.
You can't do it too early.
What's that?
You can't do the debt too early. You have to wait till you're ready to spend the money.
Yeah, but I think if we came back on a quarterly basis, just to sort of like because this is something of a multi-year duration where, given our approach, things can change either due to unexpected emergencies, cash flow management issues, yada, yada, yada. So, maybe some quarters we wouldn't have much to update, but I think it might behoove us to set aside one session every quarter to just sort of catch up and see where we are. You're going to be back here anyway. It's not like we don't hear about bridges a lot. This just the value here is that you're stepping back and looking at it as a whole entity. rather than just, oh my God, we gotta get an extension for this thing.
And we don't want to reach a point where we have the cash flow problem. Okay, so that's where, we need you to come back with the options. And, I think, I'm all in favor of doing what we can to leverage it. $5 fee.